Hello, my name is Shantae. Welcome. Today we're going to talk about how there is still hope for the world. And if you have something to drink, I've got rooibos with me today, beautiful herbal tea. It almost tastes like a natural vanilla, but it has no sugar. It's so nice. If you are anything like me, you're feeling very overwhelmed by what is happening in the world and by the messages that we are constantly bombarded with. It's quite exhausting. It's this challenge of, it's good to be aware because it can impact you versus I can't emotionally handle this. It's too much for my nervous system. But I have some thoughts that could help you to find hope in the world, and I'll share that today. One thing I am doing, this is a side comment, is I'm starting to spend time offline on the weekend. So yesterday was Saturday, I went for a drive, an hour and a half down to a beautiful creek here in Queensland. And it's a beautiful track. You have to rock hop to get there, and it's very overgrown. It's like perfect. You're walking on dirt. You're walking on the earth. There's no reception. There's just water streaming. It's heaven. And then I got to the waterfall. The water was clean and clear, but it wasn't as deep as it normally is because it's winter. We don't get a lot of rain up here in the winter. And I went swimming. And it was so cold. It was so cold, but it was so refreshing. So I'm going to share some thoughts with you that could help you to find the hope in the world. But I do want to encourage you to have a day offline, like offline, not checking your phone, not watching any content on your phone or on TV, nothing, just analog, not even analog, just disconnected. It's really good for you because then you can plug into her, to the divine, and to spirit, and to your own soul. And nature is so good because it's all spirit. So you'll feel so much more grounded and connected. So let's talk about what's going on in the world. What I am seeing happening is we're seeing the old world decaying. And the old world was based on exploitation, which in a sense is a lot of capitalism. Capitalism is to exploit the resource for its greatest value, despite the detrimental impact on anyone. It's about power. It's about mind control. So we see that both in how governments run societies at the moment, how they have for a long time, and even also how old religion traditionally operates. Well, it still operates today. It's about mind control. It's about controlling the masses. And it's also a caste-based system. It was empire versus empire versus empire. Like one would rise up, an empire would rise up. The Persians were massive. They went from Mongolia to Northern Africa to Greece, and then they collapse. And it's just this kind of, one eats the other, eats the other, eats the other, and then it gets bigger and bigger. But there is always a concept of separation, and it's about power. It's about power over people, over resources, money. That's the old world. The old world has been like that for thousands of years, not from the beginning of time, but from this cycle that we're in for humanity that started a few thousand years ago. That's the cycle that we're in. Now, there is a new world that is, the seeds were planted very recently. And there's so much I can talk about this. That's really, really special because this is actually what has caused this disruption of the old world. The old world was fine. The old world worked, and we kind of knew how to work in the system. Right? Especially for many of us, until a few years ago, we trusted the news and we trusted our leaders and we thought we were being told the truth. We never imagined that stories would be completely made up. We never imagined that we were being so badly lied to and that we were being exploited. So the old system worked and we worked in it. And we thought as long as we follow these rules, we'll have a happy, good life. So a new world began, And this world was destined for humanity from the big time of the Big Bang. I think we have been through many cycles before. I think we've had many civilizations before, and many humans before that we can't find or remember. Well, some of us are remembering, but we've lost a lot of the artifacts from those old times. But something really special, I want more. But something really special has happened that was destined for us from the time of the Big Bang. And I think this is a whole topic in itself. It's a whole series that we'll need to do. There's so much to talk about. But this new cycle for humanity that it started 200, almost 200 years ago, is actually what is causing the old systems to rattle and the foundations fall. And this is a spiritual springtime that we're in. And that's why we're seeing things fall apart so detrimentally. And what's happening in this new world is the new world actually contradicts the old world, because the new world is based on freedom. And that includes spiritual freedom. That includes being able to express spirit in your own way, attuned to your own heart. When you look at history, so much of spiritual beliefs were squashed by those in power. They were threatened. This is where we saw many women were executed because they were seen as witches, and a lot of their practices were actually herbal medicine and community. And we're all like, please give me that now. Or say First Nations beliefs that understood that everything was spirit and understood the mother father, which is a whole other topic we need to get into, because there is one all-loving creator. She absolutely is there, but there's some layers between her and us that are very interesting that we'll get to. But what has happened is everything was exploitation, and it suffocated us. And so this destiny was destined for humanity. It started 200 years ago, and that's when the shackle, like the foundations were, like the earthquake erupted the foundations and they're collapsing. And this new world is also based on divine expression of the soul, that we all have a soul. And it's based on the oneness of humanity. We are one species. We were destined to find a way to live in harmony as one complex human race. And that harmony is not uniformity and it's not conformity. There's still always individualism and diversity, because remember, it's freedom of expression. But it is the acknowledgement that we will not have war, that we will not harm each other, that we will not oppress each other, that we will not even speak harsh words to each other. That's the elevation of humanity. And the systems need to be built around that. So what's happening now, which is what you're witnessing on your Instagram feed, on the news, is the collapse of the old system, and also the old system clenching to gain and retain its control and power, and using its old tactics to create fear. One of the common stories we're seeing in Australia, which I can't believe it's still going. So tiring. It's so tiring as a beautiful caramel latte living here, is the idea of migration. Australia economically is in trouble, but we're in trouble because we don't tax the gas companies for our natural resources. We give our resources out for free, and we have lost billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars. Billions, plural. And politicians who are gripped in the old world, which is a caste-based system based on color of skin, are blaming migration and using that as a way to create fear, trying to create fear between people, not to trust people of different, who look different to each other. And that goes all ways. It's not one to the other. It's all around, 360. And trying to shut a border, an artificial border, and say that's the solution. It's not the solution. It's actually not going to solve the problem, because the problem is caused by the fact that We privatized healthcare, we privatized education, we offshored all of our manufacturing. We don't have any skills here. We had textile design, we were manufacturing cars, we were manufacturing like furniture. Everything was made in Australia until like the early 2000s. And now that we've offshored it, we don't have an economy anymore in that sense. We have like an intellectual economy, and then our resources we give away for free. So it's actually very simple to fix it. You just need to tax our natural resources. But the driving force behind this paradigm is the old world of the caste-based system. And so what they want to do, these forces of power that exist in different levels of our society, is to convince you that they're true, convince you to be in fear and to be in separation. And you have to be really careful, because if you are not conscious and you are feeding anything and everything, you can get warped into an idea that was never yours. And that's why being offline is really important. So the friction is the old world clutching for power and trying to control and manipulate us, and the new world saying, I want freedom. If you look at the world, people want their freedom back. People are realizing that the society we've built is not sustainable, that we're exhausted, that we're burnt out, that our medical system causes more harm than good generally, that we're disconnected, that we don't feel any belonging anywhere, because we're like leveling out. This is where I live, on the Sunshine Coast. You just take a piece of land, completely demolish every tree, level it out, flatten it, and build these Lego houses on it that all look the same, that you can touch between two sides, and there's no front yard or backyard, and there's no connection to nature. We're drinking water that's toxic. So they will continue to hold on to their power. Now, this is a message of hope, so let's get to the good stuff. Because you can just doom scroll forever, and you can become really aware. You can become really conscious and go, oh my gosh, that's what that was. And that event this was the truth of what was going on. It is good to be aware. It's good to be aware, but you have to protect your beautiful heart, my friend, because sometimes when we become too aware, we lose hope. And we have to have hope and know what is our role. Because if we all understand our role, we shift it. We shift it instantly, and in one generation we rebuild. I am absolutely convinced of that. It's so easy to fix all this, my friend. The power is within us, and it's with our hearts. So I want to share a dream that I had. I never planned to share this, but here we are. And this was actually inspired by an event I went to just here in the community on the sunny coast. It was a community conversation, and a young woman that I met there, beautiful soul, was saying that she felt disconnected from humanity and there wasn't any hope anymore. And I told her about this dream, and you could just see her eyes light up, which was so sweet. So I had this dream recently, a few months ago, and it was with this beautiful angel. And we were standing on rubble, and it was like concrete mass, metal underneath our feet. And then as I looked around, I saw rubble everywhere. I saw absolute destruction, and it looked like the start of Terminator 2. If you're like me, you were born in the 80s, you'll remember this opening scene. If not, go find it. It's the first scene in Terminator 2. And there's just metal scraps everywhere. And I looked up in the sky, and there were planes. To be honest, they were really like robots, actually, bombing the earth, bombing and bombing and bombing. But there was nothing left. Like, it was gone. It was all gone. And they kept bombing, and they kept shooting and destroying. There was nothing there. Nothing. Just all, from as far as my eye could see, was just rolling hills of complete carnage and destruction. And, the angel saw me and saw that I realized this. He's so sweet. And then He knelt down to the ground and he picked up this tiny plant, had 2 leaves, 2 little green leaves. And he picked it up and showed it to me. And he said, "There's still hope." And then I woke up. And that was really special because it was a reminder that despite what we're seeing in the world and how powerless we can sometimes feel because there are decisions made that are causing us, each other, and the environment so much harm, there is still hope. So let's talk about the hope. Okay, let's start with control. What is so important is for you to stay in your authentic soul's consciousness in both your mind and your behavior. That no matter what you see in the world, no matter how anyone else behaves, no matter what society says is acceptable or the norm, you stay in your own divinity, your own righteousness, your own higher self. In your mind, your beliefs, your values, and your behaviors, how are you treating other people? Because the people who are behind these forces are the minority, but in our current world, they're sitting in very high positions of power. So yes, there is an impact on their decisions, but there is a very large degree where we are actually, without realizing it, are like soldiers in their army, in a very destructive army. That's why your values, your core values, and how you treat others is your freedom, is your revolution, is your act of defiance. That's critical to remember that every day. You know, if people say lying is okay and you're like, no, I'm going to be honest no matter what, that's how we change the world. And that also means standing up for justice, because we can't have peace without justice. That means when you see things in your life, in your community, stand up for justice and stand up to help each other and protect each other. That's critical. Apathy won't help. The other piece is supporting the people, the new leaders, because if you've noticed a trend, you'll see this in Australia. It's very obvious in Australia. It's like, oh my God, what is going on? Anyone who tries to build something better and to challenge these systems will be thrashed by those in power and by mainstream media. We see this a lot in Australia there's a few women who are massive positive disruptors. They are journalists, activists, calling for change. Some of them have been through some horrific things themselves. And in the mainstream news, you'll see them being like torn down. When you see things like that, and no matter what evidence they portray to you, you know now that this is an old system gripping for its power and control. It doesn't like someone with a microphone and a big following, because she is challenging the system. So we actually need to rise up and support that person. We need to support that in our communities. I see this in the workforce all the time in IT. I've been in IT so long, like way too long. It's time to retire. Where someone will come in, a new manager, a new leader. I've been that person. I've seen it many times. I still see it now. Who has great ideas, who wants to help, who wants to make things better, and they get thrashed by the people who are intimidated, who are jealous, insecure, who want to keep their control, who are threatened. And often they win. I've seen this way too many times. So it's really important that we support the people who are challenging these old systems and building the new systems, and we back them actively. And that includes in conversations with people when someone is being conditioned, usually not thinking about it, we challenge that and we say, well, what about this? I want to share a beautiful quote, because now we get into some of the fun magic with spirituality, which is what, to be honest, it's what keeps me sane in this crazy world we live in. I don't know what I'll do if I didn't have spirituality. I'd be like, we're all doomed. And the all-loving creator is going to be like, oh, you people, let's start again. Like that, we go back to the Big Bang. This is a beautiful quote from Baha'u'llah, and it's so beautiful because we have to remember that, yes, we live in this world and we're seeing a reality, we're seeing a version of humanity of the many infinite versions we've had both in this earth and the many earths that exist. Every sun has her own earth. And that's just this galaxy of galaxies. There's so many humans out there. But we have to remember that there is a force, just like there is this force of the old world, control, fear, abuse, harm that exists, and that is recruiting people through, when you're not conscious of yourself, you can be manipulated to being your lower nature. That is there. There is another force of spirit, which is love, which is her divine love, that is far more powerful than what we see in this time-space reality. That's the magic that spirit has. So Baha'u'llah says, one righteous act is endowed with a potency that can so elevate the dust as to cause it to pass beyond the heaven of heavens. One righteous act. That means that when you act in your divine attributes, example, love, kindness, compassion, generosity, when you act in your own divine station, you have this beautiful, magical, explosive impact on everything in this world, every created thing, every human, every soul. Everything is vibrating in this world, and the heat, every atom is impacted, and they move faster with heat, and the greatest heat is love, is her divine love. That's quantum physics. But you also have an impact on all of the worlds, and that's because spirit doesn't have a limitation like this world does. Like right now, I'm in a limitation. I have a body, and, my body can only be one place at a time in this physical reality. But spiritually, sitting here, recording this, talking about divine love, sharing my love, my divine expression with you, I know I'm having an impact on the entire planet. And what is so powerful is that if we all realize that, if we all realized how the most simple acts of love and kindness actually wrap the world in gold and uplift the consciousness of everyone and bring all of us home to our own soul, we would realize how easy it is to change a world. That's where the hope is. That's where the hope is. So the rebuilding, I've put it as 3 steps. One is the individual. So that is our values, our mind, our choice, our love, like being in love. Because if we're in anger and hate, then, we're going to permeate that in every aspect of our life. And if we need to heal, go and do your healing, and connect to her, connect to the beloved, because that's where you get your spiritual power from, is from her. And that's where you get your greatest healing. That will heal every fracture in your soul, I promise. We need to do it. I feel like every time I do a video, I think of all the other videos I need to do. So that's the individual. Now the second step is relational. This is how we treat each other. Because if we didn't buy into the crap that we're being told about fearing the world and we have no control and we're losing control, we would treat each other differently. We wouldn't fear each other. We would actually help each other. We would help each other to navigate life, would support each other, would have more joy and more community. Now the third, that's relational. Number 3 is the systems. And by systems, I mean all the businesses, like what is business and economy? I mean the laws, and I mean people who are in positions of power. We need to bring new people into positions of power. We need that. The greatest force is love and how we express that with each other, but we also still need to have the right people in positions of power. That means we need to back the people who are trying to build a new world, support them, not criticize them. And we also need to build up our capability to learn, how do we rebuild the world? Like, how do we run a city differently? How do we do our town planning differently? How do we run our childcare system differently? I believe we should have a co-op system for most of our things. Everything that we've outsourced in capitalism, we should replace with a co-op system. And that's where the system is created and owned by local communities, small groups. Imagine if every street or every couple of streets had their own daycare center system where it didn't cost anything and it was like a round robin where, each day you're at a different house. Or you could have the one house if someone is in a position to create the space, and then the parents rotate and take care of the kids, and it doesn't cost anything. Wouldn't that be better? And you wouldn't have to take as much time off if you had to work, if you felt like you needed to work for whatever financial reason. Even things like a community co-op, community garden. We all have land. There's plenty of room to to grow our own vegetables, but it's a co-op system. So we all give time, an hour or two a week, and then we get our weekly produce from down the road, and it doesn't cost anything. It's free. It's just so wild when you actually uncondition yourself from capitalism, which is the concept of money by time and outsourcing, and business owns everything. You realize how easy it is to change the world. You go back to the village. One righteous act. So, my friend, I hope that gives you hope. Let's hope. Yeah. And think of, this is another point I had. What is your role in rebuilding the world? What is your soul mission? We need to do a film on this. What is your thing that you're going to do for the world? That helps take the weight off your shoulders, because the way we're trying to fix the world of the ones who care or who are so emotionally impacted or are frustrated or angry, we are trying to fix everything as one individual. It doesn't work that way. It can't be effective that way. We all need to contribute in a particular way. If we all were more strategic and structured with our time, we can fix everything. And in one generation, we're like in bliss. One generation. The problem is we just doom scroll, and then we get apathetic, frustrated, stressed, overwhelmed, anxious, depleted, disconnected. And then we don't actually do anything. We don't build anything. So think about, what is your rebuilding? I know what mine is. Mine is this. And it's also a business consulting agency, which I'm building on the side, which will become a full-time mission for me, which is how to build abundance, like building abundance through business and optimizing how businesses operate. But that's through divine expression. Well, I don't tell my clients that. They're like, what? No, I didn't say that. They're not watching this. So what's your contribution? And encourage others too, my friend. And at the end of the day, literally, like as you go to sleep, as you go into the dream world and connect to your soul and travel and hang out with the angels who are guiding you, it's really important that you connect to her, to the divine, to the beloved, and just give her all your worries. Like, work on yourself, express your higher self, have a soul mission, and then go to bed and hand it all off to her. Because it's important that you don't carry the weight of the world on your shoulders, even though at the same time you realize that one righteous act will shift the dust to the heaven of heavens. It's this balancing act. Be gentle with your beautiful soul. Remember that the fact that you care and the fact that you want to change things is really good. We need that. We don't want apathy. We need that. But be gentle with your beautiful soul. And stay in hope. Stay in hope. Stay in hope. Stay in divine love. Stay connected to your heart. Stay connected to her. And to end, let's take a deep breath. It's always a good way to end. Ground ourselves. Connect to your heart. Connect to your soul, my friend. So windy outside, but it's beautiful. Remember, you are deeply loved, and We're going to be okay. We are. Thank you.